All right, welcome everybody to day 8 of QuickPass. Today we're going to continue on just doing exercises and coding together. This one today we're going to go over is it's a pretty cool one. A lot of the previous students really liked this one, and it's just fun to do because it kind of relates to something real world. So it's pretty awesome. So let me start sharing my screen and we can just dive right in because, I think, we may take probably the entire time, maybe plus even some, depending on how fast we are. So let me share my screen. Share. See my screen? Perfect. Thank you. All right. Let me get my text box up. And if we could, please share the attendance link as well. Okay. All right. All right. So today we are going to build a Powerball lottery simulator. And if you're not familiar with the Powerball, it's I'm sure you've heard of it, and you've heard someone like these crazy jackpots getting over, $1 billion, and then like one person wins it, and they have like life-changing money. And the Powerball and the Mega Millions, and work exactly the same. There's actually two of them, and you'll see usually the jackpots are on the same billboard, split in half, and it shows them one really low and the other one super high. Or so a little bit. So if not everybody's familiar with the Powerball. It's a multi-state lottery game, and it has huge jackpots. They're always advertised, and it's super easy to play. You pick 5 numbers. Here we have a couple sample tickets, from the Powerball in the image, and we have 5 numbers here, and then you have a Powerball. And so all you have to do is buy your ticket before like the time cutoff before the drawing, and then you can either watch the drawing on TV. I think they still actually televise it like at 10 o'clock at night on certain channels, but I haven't had a traditional like TV service with like actual channels for quite a while now. So I just look online. If I ever play, I play very, very random, very, very seldom. But so all you have to do is match all 5 white ball numbers as they come out, and then the Powerball number. If you get that, then you win the entire jackpot. Or if you and several other people win, then you split the jackpot. There was actually a time, you can look it up online, but there was a fortune cookie that had the correct numbers on there, and then like they printed a whole bunch of them, and some people actually use that fortune cookie and ended up being split between, I can't remember how many people the jackpot split between, but it was a yeah, it would have been disappointing for me if I would have used that and then found out that 20 other people also won, and I had to split this, $20 million jackpot. Now I get just $1 million, even though that's still life-changing money. It's still it would be irritating. So the drawings are held twice a week. I think maybe they changed that to 3 times a week, but we'll just keep it twice a week. And it's typically on Wednesday and Saturday nights. And again, like I said, to win the jackpot, you must match all of the 5 white ball numbers and the Powerball number. And the odds of winning are 1 in 292.2 million. So crazy astronomical odds. They're way against you. If and it's hard, like even to like, I don't know, 1 in 200, yeah, sure, maybe I have to have a chance, right? Like, oh, if you can't win unless you buy a ticket, that's the only way you can win, is buy a ticket. Yeah, but basically you're throwing your money away. If you can't visualize that, hopefully at the end of this project, you may have an appreciation for maybe saving your money and doing something else with, like, invest it. But it's still fun to play. It's still fun to play and have a dream. I'm not gonna say I haven't played it, because I have played it. It's probably been a couple months now, but I do play it every now and then if I just get the urge to play. But it's not just the jackpot. The game also has smaller prizes as well. for matching fewer numbers, and those, of course, have better odds of winning. The tickets are $2 to play, and they can be purchased in most convenience stores. So that is what we're going to simulate. And so we're going to use all Python, and we can, you know, it's a big problem. Like when we think about this, like, okay, I have to build a Powerball simulator. Okay. And I have the specifics, like, okay, I know I'm gonna have, numbers, and I'm gonna have to, like, you know, um, I have to have a drawing, and I have to think about all the specifics with the Powerball. Like, okay, there's 69 white balls, and there's the Powerball. Okay. Looks like there are different colors. Um, okay. And so we want to code that. We want to code the entire Powerball, and we want to use Python. And it looks like a big astronomical problem, especially for a lot of you, like still trying to finish these challenges and get in. But we're going to break it up into bite-sized chunks. And we're going to think about our problem solving and computational thinking skills, right? So we have a problem, and I think one of the first steps when we're thinking about this, or computational thinking wise, maybe we want to uh, maybe break the problem down into smaller sub problems, right? Um, and we want to think, okay, well, how can we turn Python code into something that we can relate to in the real world? And um, and where would we begin to kind of where would we start? Where would we start in this problem? So and that's where we can, like, even do some pseudocoding, right? So we can just put a comment. So we have the pound sign will give you a comment line in Python where you can write your thoughts. And you don't have to write in Python code at all, or you could if you want to, but it allows you to comment out, and the program itself won't read it. So it's really for notes for developers or notes to yourself, to jog your memory. And so maybe we can start, and we can think about, okay, how can we break this problem down? And maybe we can start by, maybe let's think about the components of the lottery, and maybe we can start there, right? So components of the lottery, and we have what would be one component of the lottery?
Numbers 0 through 9.
So the numbers 0 through 9. Okay, you're talking about just numbers in general, right?
Right.
Okay. So we could have, so it has, let's say numbers, how about 1 through 69? So numbers 1 through 69 for the standard numbers, because those are the white balls, right? And then we have 2, we have the numbers 1 through, I think, 26 for the Powerball numbers. Okay. And if you take a look, we have a ticket here, right? So maybe we need to have a ticket. So tickets bought before the drawing. Okay.
So it looks like there's some kind of array as in A, B, C.
So maybe like a Python or array or list, right? So
List,
list
right?
of numbers. And how many numbers?
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a unique identifier of 18 for that first ticket.
So a list of 5 numbers plus a special number, right? So it's like, okay, we need to get a list of 5 numbers from 1 through 69, and we also need to get a special number from this other list and put it onto one ticket. And we will put it into a list, right? Okay. maybe we can start there, right? Oh, and also about the Powerball, you can either like choose your numbers, or you can just tell the clerk at the store, be like, oh, just give me a quick pick, right? They call them quick picks, or I can't remember what the Mega Millions one is, but they just generate random numbers for you and give them to you. Usually when I play Powerball, I'll give them a 20 and I'll get like 10 tickets, right? I get 10 numbers. And I hate doing quick pick, because like 5 of the tickets will have the same number on there. I'm like, I want different numbers. I want to see myself at least hit one numbers. And I know that the one that's repeating on 5 different lines is not going to be one of the ones chosen. And I feel like gypped whenever I feel like super cheated whenever I see that, or I see even 2 of the same numbers. Um, so so yeah, so we have our tickets bought before drawing. We have a list now, and so we can even say like randomly chosen. So the numbers are randomly chosen, or picked by customer. Okay.
So I don't know how crazy you're wanting to get with this, but there's a timestamp, there's a unique ID, and I don't know what that other set of numbers is.
Yeah. We can go that route. Yeah, because there's a timestamp on there. There's a unique ID to a ticket. We can even do that. I mean, we could probably add that. We'll just right now stick with this, because I think we're gonna probably start. I'm thinking we're probably gonna start with making a ticket. I think that's a pretty good starting point. But there's other things about the lottery, right? There's the components. There's the drawing. So there's the big drawing, right? And that one is a big hopper of white balls that drop one at a time, and then a special Powerball hopper drops the Powerball. Okay. I'm getting to the very bottom of my screen. I'll move that down a little bit. All right. Cool. So we have the tickets, we have the drawing, and then we have the show that shows tickets, or the results. So the drawing, which we say the drawing is the results, and we have like the comparison, right? So we get to comparison of the ticket to the drawing, and then determine our prize. And then, of course, we have the prizes themselves. So we have the prizes. So we probably need like a prize, maybe like a prize chart. So a prize chart. And then, okay, let's actually go take a look. I want to go pull up the Powerball real quick and see what we got. So Powerball. Powerball here. Let me find. Let me see if I can find the Powerball prize chart. Powerball price chart. There we go. From the official Powerball site. Okay. There's also another thing you can add to a ticket. I think it's another $2, but you can add what's called Power Play. And that's another drawing that tells you, like, it'll be like a 2 times up to 5 or 10 times. And if you win a non-jackpot prize, and I think up to 50,000. Yeah, so if you win 50,000, you have the 10-time power play, then you win 500,000. Most of the time, it's going to be a two times power play, and I think they cap even the $1 million prize. So, like, if you win $1 million, they're not going to give you 10 million over here. They're going to cap you at doubling. So, a worthless feature, in my opinion. I would never buy it. But yeah, so here it kind of tells you what winning the grand prize, of course, you match all 5 with the Powerball. If you match all 5, then you get $1 million. So that's kind of cool. Without the Powerball. If you match 4 with the Powerball, then you get $50,000. And then you match just 4 numbers, you get $100. So that's a big jump. So matching 4, you get 100. You match 5, you get $1 million. And that will speak to how rare it is to match all 5 numbers. And then I'm matching the Powerball on top of that. Like that's where that 1 in 292 million comes in. And then matching 3, you get $7. Matching 2 plus Powerball, $7. Matching 1 number plus Powerball, you double your ticket price. And if you match just the Powerball, you also win $4. So, and here's kind of the odds and showing, okay, so if you match just the Powerball, it's 1 in 38. It's a 1 in 38 chance. Let me just make sure that they still have. Yeah, so let's see. I could have sworn it's only 1 to 26. The overall odds of winning a prize are 1 in almost 25. So, of any prize. So, okay. So we have this prize chart. We can use this because we can use this Powerball simulator to track how much money we spend. We can do all sorts of stuff here. And so, in fact, we probably need to do that. So we have the prize chart, but we also, we may want to have so tickets cost $2 a piece. So we can use that to track money spent or won if we happen to win a big prize. So, okay, so that's the components. And I vote that we probably want to focus on this one first. Do y'all agree?
What I don't understand is the intent. Are we going to ask a user to respond? So for instance, pick a number 1 through 69, do that 5 times. Or are we going to just have them hit a button and generate it? Like there's I'm not quite understanding what the interface is going to be.
So the interface will be it'll be in the Jupyter notebook. You'll see whenever I'm going to show you some methods you probably haven't seen before to do some of these tasks. Of course, you could code out a random number generator if you want to, but we also have a Python library that will do that. There's also the input method. So the input method will actually request a user to put in data. So we're going to use.
That's what I was thinking is like, so are we doing like a while true and then we have it print out a bunch of instructions to the end user.
Mhm.
The end user then does a bunch of inputs and then we make a response based on that.
Yep. Yeah, and I think probably we may want to go with the quick pick first. So maybe let's just randomly generate a ticket first. We can do that one first and then see how that goes, and then we can build from there. And so yeah, so let's think about how we can make a ticket. So we're going to say, building a ticket. Okay. So and so we have our guidelines. We know we want numbers 1 through 69 for the standard, and we also want the numbers 1 through 26 for the Powerball. And I think we should probably stick with the randomly generated numbers for now. And there's a Python module for that, and it's called the random module. And it generates pseudo random numbers, per your constraints. So and to use it, it's part of Python. And when you download Python to your computer, you have it, but it's not activated. So you have to actually import it into your script for it to be activated. And then you can use all the methods in that module. And you have other modules as well, like the math module. You have the regex module. You have the OS module that will do some operations on your operating system. That one's like super powerful. It's awesome. You can use it to grab files, grab lists of files that you want to change and pull data in from. So it's a it's a pretty powerful one as well. So it's called the random module. And so I'm going to put in the word import, and then I'm going to put in the word random. And if you see how it turns green, it's underlined, and it has like these things pop up, that means it's a module. And so now I have it as part of my script. And when I run this cell, I'll have access to all the different methods as part of that module. And to give you a little taste of what it can do, I can say my number equals random, and see how it's already popping up. And I do a dot to get to the methods. And so you have a whole bunch of choices to like pick from all these different methods, just like we saw with string methods and list methods. This is the same thing. I'm going to go do rand int. So I want a random integer, and I can say right now let's do 1 through 100. And then I want to print my num. So run this, set my Python kernel, select that, and it gave me 26. If I ran this again, I probably won't get 26 again. I could, but I got 79. Ran it again, 86. Ran it again, I got 1, 18. So you can run it, and you can see that every time I run it, it gives me a random integer between 1 and 100. And so we can use the power of this module in the ticket. And so how do you think we could do that? So if you look in number 3 here, so it says tickets bought before drawing, and it's a list of 5 numbers plus a special number. So randomly chosen or picked by customer. So we can maybe start with it being a list, right? So we could say, well, we can just call it ticket. Ticket equals empty list. And so we have an empty list now, and I want to add 5 random numbers to that list. And so I can use my random module to do that. And so I can say, okay, well, I can say number is equal to random dot rand int 1 comma 69. And then I can say append num. And I'll do ticket append, ticket dot append number. And then I can print the ticket. So print ticket. Okay, if I run that, now I get 59 into a ticket, right? But if I run this again, it's going to reset ticket back to an empty list, give me a number, and put it into a list. So now I can get 1 number into a list, but I need to get 5 numbers into a list. Is there any useful tool I could do? Could I just call this 5 times? Maybe I can just do like this, and I can just do like that. I could. I could, but yeah, I want to use a loop, right? So I want to use a for loop. And what would be the best kind of loop to run on this? You have the for item in X, you have the for I comma, item and enumerate, which one would be best for this one? How about how many times do we want to loop? We want to loop 5 times, right? So we have a specific number we want to loop. That would be the range, right? So like that. And then I can say num equals random dot rand int 1 comma 69. And then I can say ticket append num here. Oh, what did I do? And then so that will run, and then I should get a ticket. And I do. I get a ticket. Sweet. So I have a now a list of 5 unique numbers. Oh wait, not unique.
They're random, not unique.
Uh-oh. So
I have to use.
that's a problem, right? So we need to make sure they're unique too. So that's the first problem we have. But we can solve that here in a bit. We also need to add the Powerball. So we can say after that, we can then also just do a quick so PB equals actually I can probably just say ticket dot append random dot rand int 1 comma 26. Okay, now this number will be at the end because always we're appending. That's the Powerball. So we can do that way, or we can say PB equals this. And either way is acceptable. If you want to be a little more clear with your code, you can always do this. You can always assign a variable. And I'm doing Windows keyboard things because I was working today. And I can just say PB right there. Either way is fine. You can define a variable if you want to see your code a little more clearly and kind of see each step. You can totally do that. But I've run that. Okay, so now I have a ticket. But we did identify the problem. We do not want repeating numbers. So luckily in the random module, there is another method other than rand int, and that's called sample. So we have the random sample, and then we can give it a range. So we can say range, and we can say, I think it's 1 comma 69, and then we want 5 of them. And so what this tells us is we want to get the numbers 1 through 69, but we want 5 unique numbers. So and let's just see if it works. Okay. Oh, we don't need to do that. We just need to do ticket equals that. We don't need to do that way. So ticket equals that. Okay. There we go. So now using the sample, we can guarantee that these numbers are going to be unique. And so it'd be just like the ball hopper dropping the white ball into the bucket. And then another one, and then making sure that you're not going to have a repeat. Now we could code it without using that library, and we can use a while loop. And or yeah, we can say a while loop, and while the length of ticket is less than 5, put a number or pick a number, and if that number is not in ticket, then you can actually add it to ticket. And so if it happens to randomly pick one that exists in the ticket, you can have an if statement to just continue the loop, and it will just pick another number. And so you could code it that way. This is a little cleaner using included library with a method, and it is a little cleaner and pretty easy to read. The random module is a very well-known module, just like the OS and those other ones. Those are pretty standard to see at the top of a script. So it looks like we have a ticket. So that looks like we have a list of 5 numbers plus a special number. And we can print it out and we actually have a ticket. And so we can, it's saved into the variable ticket that we can use later on. So that one's done. So what's next?
So I'm confused. Are we going to build an if-and statement that basically says while true, the input is greater than, I guess, 5. Then if it's not true, then we select a Powerball number.
Are you
Correct?
talking about having a user select numbers as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you want to go ahead and code that as well. We can do that. So let's go ahead and make a new code block here. So we have a new set of code, and then we can say, okay, let's define ticket as well. So we can just redefine ticket. And so now we want the user to pick a number between 1 and 69. And so how we do that is we would say number equals input pick a number from 1 to 69. And then we can say ticket append num. And then we can say, so we're gonna use a while loop and say while ticket or length of ticket. So while the length of ticket is less than 5.
Is it less than 5 or not 5? Not equal to
Um,
5.
we'll never start out greater than 5, but and this will evaluate to true. And then once it hits 5, it will not evaluate to true. So that means we'll get our last number in there while it's running. So that should work. So we have that, and then we can say input or PB equals the Windows commands again. Okay. And then we can say ticket dot append PB. Then print ticket. Okay, if I run this up here, so this comes up here to the top where I have to enter my number. So I can say 10 and hit enter. And then I can do 20, enter, 30, enter, 40, enter, 50, enter. Then it goes to Powerball number. You see, so that while length of ticket less than 5 worked, and then I can say 12, enter. And there they are, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 12.
Okay, I see. In my head, I was thinking it was a split because we're making that 12 a unique, right? So I was thinking it would split to a different list in my head. So I guess we're just gonna append it all to one ticket.
Yeah, just like we did here, we appended the Powerball. So, because we don't really need to like separate it to like a separate thing. Or I
Okay.
did, like, one of the ways I coded this before is I I made it like a letter from A to Z because, there's 26 letters in the alphabet. I did it that way, but then I was like, oh wait, I mean, the list maintains the order, so I know the last number is always the Powerball. So, uh, okay, so that's a quick, way to do it. But there's some things that, if you can see the output of these, do you notice anything weird?
They're all even.
Well, yeah, because I picked them, right? So I picked 10,
Oh,
20, 30,
that's
40. Um, yep. So Danielle noticed that the numbers are all strings. So if I played this again, pick a number from 1 to 69, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 34. So wow. Well, that's not, that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all, actually. I can't compare that to numbers in a drawing. You know, I'm actually, looking at this when when I have this right here, I'm opening myself to the user to putting whatever they want in there. Um, so, yep. So inputs do always come in as strings. So you need to, I mean, you could use, I think, parseInt, but there's also, you can just cast, right? So you can just cast it to an integer. So Justin put out the correct way. You can just do int and then wrap your number in there. So you can actually wrap this, this whole input into, into int, and then it'll, it'll cast it, or you can just wrap it right here. So you can say int num. And in fact, if I did that, right, and I ran this and I put 1, it's gonna break my script because you can't turn the text 1 into an integer. So I don't want that either, right? So there's a lot of problems I have with allowing the user to enter data. Um, you know, that could be a problem. And so we can approach that. Uh, we can approach that here in a bit. Um, we could evaluate number before moving on. So I can say if if um if num dot, or if let's see, if not, if not num dot is, I think we can use like digit or numeric, right? Is numeric.
Wouldn't range cover that? The method range cover that as well?
What do you mean range?
Isn't range a method that covers pretty much all integers that we've selected? So we've said range is 1 through 69. I thought range would cover the fact that we were saying that that's an integer right there.
So this, yes, this is the randomly created ones, but now we're allowing the user to pick a number. So we're letting, whoever's running this script um pick the number, right? Well, if the user writes the word ONE and says, okay, I want the number 1, right? Then we want to maybe not allow that. So we want to put in some checks, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're saying if not num. So what I'm saying is, you know, if the number coming back from the user is not numeric, then I want to um, maybe put a message out, or I can say like print your entry must be a number. I can just do that, and then I can hit continue. So What that does, the continue will stop this loop and just go back and do it again. So we can try that real quick. So now if we do 1, you didn't see it pop in, but it should have printed down below. See, it's not letting me. There it goes. See how it says your entry must be a number? So it's just continuing it and keeping the loop going. And so now if I pick like 2, then it won't give me the error. But I'm still like, I don't have any I don't have any status right now other than just saying, there. Now I can. So now if you look, I appended my integer of number. I didn't get an error because it wouldn't let me put anything alpha, like any kind of alpha characters or special characters, only numeric. So that's a way to kind of do some error checking. And if you look, it also put integers into my list. It didn't put in the strings, but the Powerball did because I didn't actually fix the Powerball yet. So I could do the same thing with that. I could also um, wrap the Powerball in a while loop and until they pick the correct one. So I could do that. Or here I can just wrap it in integer right for now. So we can come back to that and put that error checking in there. But right now we can say we'll just trust they're going to put the integer. They got the practice down and they'll put an integer in for the last one. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I got the Powerball. We'll do 6. And there we go. Now we have integers into our list. And so now we have a way to get a randomly generated ticket or a user generated ticket. Not perfect. There's a lot more. There's some things that can still go wrong with this. When you're thinking about, the user putting stuff in, what if they put in a float? What would happen? Because that's numeric. You may have an issue with that. So any questions so far? Is everyone pretty comfortable with this so far? Awesome. Okay, so we have the ticket done, and now we have a drawing. So let's see, figure out how we can do that. Let's go ahead and so now we want to make our drawing. How am I going to make a drawing? I guess a second. Well, I know I'm going to need. It's going to be 5 numbers plus a Powerball, so I can drawing like this equals, I guess, empty list, and then I can say, well, for I in range 5, I can do num equals random. Oh, wait, I can do drawing. So I can do the same thing with a ticket, right? So I can do drawing equals random dot sample. And this pop-up is ridiculous. Range 1 comma 69. I'm going to do that 5 times. And then PB equals random dot rand int 1 through 26. Okay, so here I have a drawing, and then I'm saying, okay, so that for I in range 5, I want to Well, I don't think, do I need to have a loop? I don't even need to have a loop in this one, do I? I don't think I have to actually have a loop here. Let me see. Oop, let me, drawing append PB, drawing. Yeah, I don't even have to have a loop here. So I was making, this was, I don't need that. So drawing, if I run that, yeah. Okay, so I have a drawing. So when you do the random sample, you're getting it returns a list already. So it returns a new list containing elements from the population while leaving the original population unchanged. The resulting list is a selection order so that the subslices will also be valid random samples. This allows raffle winners the sample to be partitioned to grand prize and second place winners, the subslices. Okay, cool. So boom, I have those. And then I have my Powerball I'm appending. Okay. Okay, that was pretty easy. What's next? So next is I have my tickets. I have my drawing. Now I need to compare them to see if I have any matches. Does anybody notice anything with this code that just seems a bit weird? Like I can get a ticket, sure, and I can get a drawing. And so I mean I guess I mean it's working, so that's good. Maybe we can just continue and we can see how we do. So how would we how would we compare a ticket to a drawing? So now we need to compare ticket to drawing. How would we do that? Danielle says a loop checking membership. Okay. So what would I loop over? Would I loop over the ticket or the drawing, or does it matter? Before we move on, so I think we're at 6:51. Before on, let's do a recap just to make sure everyone's on the same page. I'm sure some of you have questions. If you have questions, this is a good time to ask them to kind of look at the thought process of because our end goal is to build the Powerball lottery. And more than that, we're building a Powerball lottery where a user can get a ticket. and maybe even several tickets. And then we're going to compare them to the Powerball drawing. And then maybe further on, maybe we can use this to simulate playing the Powerball over a certain amount of time. So maybe like a year or 20 years. And then like maybe tracking how much money we're spending, over that long term. So kind of realizing long term value in playing the lottery. And then, maybe getting realistic with it. So maybe looking at, okay, how many drawings are there in 20 years? How much money could you spend, playing the lottery over 20 years? And maybe we can then track to see how much money we can win or lose based on that. So, but right now, all we've done is we've figured out a way with Python to build a ticket, just a single ticket that we have, which is a list of numbers. And the constraints were the first 5 numbers need to be between 1 through 69, and they have to be unique. And then the last number is a Powerball. And then we also built a way for a user to pick their own numbers. So we do have some error checking in here, some safeguards. If a user decides to get silly and put in a letter or a special character, we're not letting them do that. We're saying your entry must be a number, and won't let them leave the loop until they have 5 numbers. We could put some messaging that's friendly to show that, okay, we have our numbers in here. We can put some messaging in there. But then we're adding the Powerball at the end. So we're telling the user, hey, pick a Powerball number. We don't have the error checking there, but we probably want to. But right now we're just appending the integer for now. And then we're printing the ticket. And so we verified that at least works. There are some there, we need some safeguards in here, but we're still developing this, so we can get back to that. So we can put a comment on here, actually, say, not fully complete. Need more error checking, or need more safeguards or user input. Okay, so we have a little note there. It's not fully complete. Okay, and then we have a drawing, and the drawing okay. So we're making a list. We're getting a random sample, and then we're adding the Powerball. This looks a lot like Ticket. In fact, that is Ticket. If you look at everything here, we're just changing a variable name. So we have ticket, and then we have drawing. And it's the exact same code, because that's how we get a drawing. We get a random sample from a hopper of 69 balls, and then this. So that's where ticket and drawing are the same. And if you're thinking about this programmatically and think about proper Python code, maybe we need to take this code and put it into a function so it's not repeated, because this is repeated code. Even though we're getting 2 different variables, we're writing the same exact code over and over again. So maybe we can take this block and maybe turn it into a function that we can call to create a ticket and create a drawing. And we don't have to have so many lines of code. Does everybody see that? And that's kind of what I was getting at, is that, does this code kind of look weird? And I can move it up so where you can see it together. Like building a ticket, drawing, ticket, drawing. Then ticket equals random sample, drawing equals random sample. Powerball, ticket append, drawing append, and then print ticket, and then print drawing. So it's the exact same code, just repeated. They both work
Excuse me, Aaron.
the
Quick
exact same.
question.
Yeah.
When you talking about random and unique, what were referring to? I didn't understand that.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. Were you asking like how we know they're random and unique?
Yeah, you like these random and unique. Okay, what's it? How do you
I'm sorry, your audio is coming in very choppy, like bits are being cut out. So I hear very like random bits of your audio. I can't quite understand what you're saying.
Oh, I put it in.
Okay, thank you. And so if we need to, and while we wait for that question, how do we, let's go ahead and actually build a function. And so how do we do that? And we can make a function right here. How do I start building a function that creates a ticket or a drawing, or just creates the numbers that we need? How would I start that? Okay, James says define lottery, ticket drawing. Okay. Well, I think we're going to use that line in our comparison. I think you're on the right track. But right now we're looking at just building a ticket or drawing. But yes, you're on the right track. We have the word define. We're defining a function. And we can just call this like maybe we'll call it ticket gen, like a ticket generator. And I don't think we need any inputs. Because we're just going to call the function and it's going to give us something. It doesn't require anything going into it, because we just want to call the function, it runs and gives us an output. And the output's going to be this, a list of numbers, the first 5 being unique from 1 to 69, and then the last one being the Powerball. And then we can just throw this in here. And then we can actually call it something else, because it's not just a ticket generator. So it's probably not a good name, right? It's not a ticket generator, it's a number generator. Or yeah, we can say number gen. Okay. And then here we can say numbers, and then numbers. In fact, I don't even need this, because I just want to generate a list. So I don't need the empty list. I can just say numbers equals that random sample. And then I need to move this up here because it's at the top of my script. Numbers equals that, and then numbers and numbers. And I don't want to print numbers, I want to return numbers. Okay. And so now I've kind of abstracted my ticket generation to a number generation. And then I can build a ticket by just simply saying ticket equals number gen. And then the drawing is the same thing. So I can say drawing equals number gen. And then I can print ticket. And I can print drawing. Okay. Okay, cool. So Regina asked, unique and random. Clarify the statement from earlier when you switch from random to unique during the demonstration. And so what I mean is, if I were to with the Powerball, right? The Powerball is a hopper of 69 numbers. 1 through 60 or 70 numbers, 1 through 69. And as one is selected, right? Let's say the number 3 is pulled out of the hopper, right? If it's pulled out, it's no longer in the hopper. So you couldn't get another number 3. And so when I say random and unique, if I just use the random.rand int and I put that in a loop, I could get the same number and put that in my ticket, which would be an invalid ticket. It could never happen. The same with the drawing. The drawing, if I did that, then if I got 2 4s, then it would not work, because no one would ever, if there were 2 4s in the hopper, that'd be a mistake and they would have to invalidate that drawing. So it just could never happen. If you have unique numbers in a hopper and you're pulling one at a time, they're no longer going to be in the hopper. And so what this does, this random.sample, this says, hey, I have the numbers 1 through 69. Give me a sample of them, and I want 5 of them. So I want to pull 5 numbers out from this 1 through 69. And this method is from the random module, and it's code behind the scenes I don't have to think about. All I know is I'm going to get a random sample of numbers that are unique from 1 to 69. So that's going to simulate the lottery. That guarantees that now I'm always going to get 5 unique numbers in this section here. Now, the Powerball is different, because the Powerball can it can match one of these numbers because it's from a different hopper. So you can have, let's say you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you pulled the Powerball of 3, you'll have 2 3s on your ticket. So that's what I meant by random and unique. I guess, did that answer your question? Great. So I'm going to run this cell, because I haven't run this cell before. Jupyter Notebook. See how this little bracket here doesn't have anything. See how I've run a cell like 25 times here. Then there's 26, and there's 20 there. So if I run this, I'm going to get an incremented number up. So I get 27, and now this function is in memory. It's in my kernel memory, and now I want to see if I can run this by calling the number generator and getting a ticket, right? So I'm assigning the results. It's returning the numbers and assigning it to ticket. And so boom, I have a ticket. Boom, I have a drawing. And if you look, they're different. So I called the same function, assigned it to a variable, and now in memory, that will stay. And I can use that and I can compare. And so before, we had the same code for ticket and building the drawing, but now we have a lot cleaner code. We have this one line, and we're just calling this function that gets run. It returns the numbers and gives me the ticket. I call the same function. It gives me the drawing. And so that's a lot cleaner, and that's for the random numbers. Now, this still needs to stay, because we still want to maintain the ability to pick a number, and this is not fully complete. We can go back to that. But that's where we're at now. And so now we have randomly, we have a ticket that's randomly generated. We have a randomly generated drawing. And now we can write code to compare them. And then we'll get back to doing this here in a bit. But that's where we're at now. And we're at 7:05. Wow. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break and come back at 7:15. And we can resume our Powerball generator. We're making pretty good progress. We already have a ticket. We have a drawing. We're well on our way to comparing and seeing if we have a match. Go ahead and pause the recording here. All right, welcome back from the break. Before the break, we had already dove right into the Python lottery generator, and we have already met some of our objectives. And one was to create a ticket. So in lottery, we need to have a ticket, and it needs to have the specific numbers 1 through 69 of unique numbers, 5 of them, and then the Powerball. And we had initially written the code, and we saw that, okay, well, the code's actually repeating. Like, we're building a ticket, and then we're building a drawing, and we're building the same exact way with these lines of code. And so I was like, hey, why don't we just put that into a function. So we make a function that we're going to call. And if we remember, the lesson from functions is functions are reusable code that we can use where we don't have to concern ourselves with how like it's happening. Yes, we did write the function. We did concern ourselves with how the function worked, but we only had to do that once. And then as long as we know what we need and we have the function, right? We can just call the function. And what we're doing here on line 3 of this cell is we're creating a ticket. And instead of having the logic to create a ticket right here in this cell, we just call the function. And we know that the function is going to return something. It's going to return a list of numbers with 5 of the numbers being unique numbers 1 through 69, and then a single number at the end of our Powerball. And so when we do that, we're saying ticket equals number gen. We're saying, hey, we're making ticket equal to output of number generator. So that's calling the function, and then we're printing it. And so if I run this, you see how the numbers change because I'm regenerating numbers from number gen. So it's like a little program itself making my ticket and giving back to me. The drawing is doing the same exact thing. It's calling the same exact function, but I'm getting back drawing. And then in this cell here, down here, I can actually call print ticket. And print drawing. So I can run that right here. And those are my 2 items. Now, if I run this, they're not going to change because I haven't run the cell up here to generate the ticket. But if I did that, and then printed them down here, now I have them together. I can kind of compare them. Oh, look, I have a matching number in my ticket, my drawing, the 2s. And so that's what we're wanting to do. We want to write Python code, and that's where we're at, is we want to compare the ticket to the drawing. And so we can print them and look at them, but we want Python to evaluate them. And I think someone mentioned before the break that we need to loop over one and compare it to the other. I think someone had put that in there. I can't remember who. It's kind of further up in the chat. Okay, James says to sort. Well, we got to be careful. We don't want to sort the list because the Powerball is kind of unique. We want to keep that at the end, right? If we sorted it, then it may get shoved into a different position. So we don't want to sort them in place because then we'll lose our Powerball. So we got to be careful with that, right? We got to make sure our Powerball stays at the end. But is there another way? So if we're looking at like an item in a list, right? So maybe let's loop over the list. So if we looped over one of these lists, either the ticket or the drawing, and we start looking at the first number, right? Is there a way to check if that number is somewhere in here? Okay, so if statement, right? So let's write a for loop. So for, and let's just say for num and ticket, right? So for number and ticket, and he said if statement. So if num, and then what could we put? So what would the statement look like to see if it's in this list down here? If we go back to lesson 2, I think we have the conditional statements. We had a membership test, right? How do we use a membership test or checking for membership, which is checking to see if it's contained inside of something? We could simply just write the word in. So if num in drawing, that would be a membership test. So we're checking, we're going to loop over the numbers in ticket, which ticket is our first one, right? And we're going to say, if number in drawing, we want to do something. So what would we want to do if we want this just to kind of work quickly? We can just do a print statement, right? And we can put a big old capital match with an exclamation point. And then, yeah, I think that's probably all we have to do. And so, if I run this, it's gonna, this for loop is going to start and grab ticket, which is our first one here. And I can say this is, I can actually make this a little more descriptive, right? So, this is the ticket. Tickets. And then I can do, this is the drawing. Okay. There we go. So this is the ticket, this is the drawing, and then, oh, match and match. So I have two matches. So it looks like when the loop ran, so for number in ticket, so it's going to take this ticket, this first number is a 40, and it's going to check, is number in drawing? So it's going to go through and see if 40 is in there. Nope, it's going to go to 22. So it's going to go back and iterate. It's 22 in there. Yes, match. And then it's going to check for 2, and the 2 is in there. So it's match, match, and then everything else doesn't match. And I can even get more creative with this. I can actually have an F string, and I can say this. I can say this number matched, and then I can do num. And so there we go. Looks like it's grabbing it. So it's checking to see if 22 is in the other, if in drawing, because this is drawing, this list right here, and it matched. So we have comparison. Now, would we win anything? If we matched two numbers and we did not, looks like we didn't match the Powerball. The Powerball is different, right? Womp, womp, womp. We don't win anything. So you can match two numbers in the Powerball and the 5 and win 0. You win no money. So maybe it's not so exciting that that matched, right? But at least this is how we can do the comparison, right? We can loop over the ticket and see if the numbers in the drawing. Any questions on that so far? Does it seem pretty straightforward? Okay. I got nothing in the chat, so I think we can go forth and proceed. Okay, so now, so yes, we have compared it, but is this the right way to approach this? Are we doing the right comparison? Is there any details that we need to think about when we're doing this comparison? Okay, Miguel says maybe the placement of the match for the Powerball. Right, and that's kind of where I was going, right? you know, when we loop over this, we're looping over every single number, right? But we don't want to take this one, this 19, and see if it's in the entire ticket. Because if the 19 was here and it was also here, that doesn't mean anything. That's not a match because you're matching the Powerball with the regular numbers. I only want to compare the last numbers to each other to see if I have a Powerball match. And if we do have a Powerball match and only a Powerball match, you are a big winner and you win double the money you put in on that ticket. So we have to actually have logic for that, and this will not work. In fact, we have to completely change this. And so James asked, okay, can we split? We could, I mean, we could pull it away from the ticket. I don't know if that's needed. Is there a way to maybe loop over? Is there maybe a way to loop over the ticket, but not loop over everything? Maybe just loop over the first 5, but leave the last one and not loop over it. Miguel says range. We can try and do that, I guess. So instead of for num and ticket, we can say for I in range len. I mean, we can even just do range 5, right? Because we know we're only going to loop over 5 numbers. Let me comment this out because it's screaming at me. And so here, now I can say if ticket I is in drawing, and then I also need to get a slice of the drawing. I don't want the last number, so I would need to do a slice. How would I write the slice of the drawing? I don't want to look at the 23 at all with the first range. So I'm going to loop over these 5 right here by using range. I'm going up to 5. Up to, but not including 5. So it'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I won't include 5. So remember that range is up to, but not including the last number. So if I'm saying if ticket at the index of I, it's going to start at 0. So you look at the 41st, is in the drawing, but I only want to check this part of drawing. I don't want to check this one because that's the Powerball. So what would I put here to make sure I'm only looking at these numbers? How would I write that slice? Do y'all remember the list slicing or string slicing that we did? We can do a bit of a review. So if I have my list, and let's just make it equal to a 6-number list, right? So if I did my list and I did 1:4, what will I get back on this one? Do y'all remember on this one? If I'm taking a slice of a list. Miguel says 2 through 3 or 2 and 3, right? I'll get back 2, 3, 4. Because that's 0, 1, 2, 3, up to, but not including 4. So I would get back this because I wouldn't include the first one because I'm starting at 1 and going up to, but not including 4. So how could I then say if my ticket at the index of I, so I'm starting with this one, this is 40. How would I put the slice of drawing where I'm only checking these, what would I do? How would I write that in there? I would write it something like this, but it'd be different. So you're saying 0, 6? Like that? I think, isn't that like JavaScript doing the slice? I can't remember. It's been so long. Well, if I can actually try that on this one, because I have the same number, right? So if I did 0:6, I get back the entire thing. It could be. I don't know. I've always just done slicing with my brackets. Let me see. Actually, I can just look it up. The Python slice function. Yep. So slice. So here it is. The slice function returns a slice object. So it starts then. Okay. So it's saying 3 and 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and not including 5. So D and E. Okay. Yeah. It's the same thing. I could use the slice. I could use the slice function on there as well. So I would have to define the slice as a variable and then do, okay, I see how to use that. But this is also getting a slice. But if I did 0, 6, I would get back the entire list. I just want to get the first 5 digits. So would I just do that then? Yep. Or I can do a blank and I think a -1. Is that right? Yeah. So I can do nothing before because it's optional before the colon. Then the stop index is the only one required, and that's you use -1, which is the last index, but that's up to but not including, so it would not include that last index. So yeah, 0, 0, and then the 5, or 0, -1 would also work. Yep. So there's different options, right? We'll use 0, -1. And so what we're saying here now is if ticket at the index of I, and remember this loop is going to run 5 times. When the first time this loop runs is going to be 0. And so what I'm saying is that if ticket, which ticket is this, ticket at the index of 0, the first time it runs, so it's going to check 40, is 40 in drawing in this slice of drawing. Then it's going to match the number. And so then I have to change number because I didn't define number there. So now it needs to be ticket I. Because I'm using this range. I'm not looping over the collection. I'm looping over a range of numbers. And then I get back the same exact result. This number matched and this number matched. And so we have that. We have the number match, and then we can say, after we're done with that, we can just compare the last ones. So then we can say if ticket at the index of -1 equals drawing at the index of -1, print Powerball matched. Are you talking about right here on line 9? Or are you talking about line 7? That's a good question, by the way. Line 7. Because remember, in this comparison, right, I only want to check if ticket at the index of I, which will be one of these 5 numbers, because my loop is stopping at this one. I will not check the 19, right? So I'm checking each one of these, and if it's in this list, but only these numbers, I'm not checking the 23 in drawing, because I don't want to compare any of these numbers to this number, because if they match, it wouldn't mean anything. So what I'm saying here, if ticket at the index of I is in drawing of this slice, I'm just taking this slice of drawing. That's what this means. I'm taking a slice of drawing. I'm matching the number. Then after this loop is done running, I have to run a quick if statement to check the last numbers to each other. So I'm saying if ticket at the index of -1 equals drawing at the index of -1, I'm going to print this right here. And so I'm actually, this is the full comparison of the ticket to the drawing. Cool. All right. And so now, yeah, so now it looks like we have a comparison of the tickets and the drawings. So, if I want to run this right here, I can run that and run that. Looks like there's no match there. So if I run this, I get back nothing, because there's no matches at all. So it looks like this logic is working. So at least we can get a comparison. But it's not, all we're saying is, hey, we have matches, but we're not actually doing anything. We're not calculating any money. We're not looking at prizes. We're not looking at, any of that stuff yet. We still have to code that. But at least we have the overall Powerball down. And in fact, we could probably bring these together, right? So let's do that. Let's do this real quick. For I in, or let's do for let's do, because of for I in range already. Let's turn this into a function as well. So let's call this def. We're going to define it as compare. And this time, this is what you suggested a while ago. And you said lottery, and then you had 2 parameters in there. That's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to make a function called compare. And we're going to need a ticket. And we're going to need a drawing. Conveniently, ticket and drawing are already named, because they're perfect names for this compare function. We just need to know that ticket is going to be the first one, drawing is going to be the second. And so now that we have that function defined, we can do a for loop here for I in range. Let's do 50. Let's do 50 drawings and 50 compares. And then we can say ticket equals, what does ticket equal? How do I generate a new ticket? Gen number, that's right. So gen number. Okay. And then drawing equals gen number. I think it was gen number. Number gen, not gen number. I was like, it's not turning green. It should be number gen. There we go. That's right. Okay. So number gen. And so now, we can then do we can do a compare. Ticket drawing. And so hopefully we'll see at least a Powerball match something. We have 50 drawings. So let me get rid of this. Run that. Oh, we did get a Powerball match. So we have 3 Powerball matches in 50 drawings. So what just happened is I ran this loop 50 times, and then I had a ticket, and I created that ticket with the number gen function. I created a drawing with that same function because we realized that we were just putting the same logic into 2 separate parts of the script. So it's better just put into a function. And then I want to compare. And so I put the logic we just wrote into a comparison function. And so now everything's all nice and abstracted and away from this becomes like our driver code almost for making a whole bunch of drawings. And so that's the power of writing these loops and then putting your code into functions so it looks a lot cleaner and it's not repeating itself. Any questions so far? We are already almost 8 o'clock. It's 7:45. Time is just flying. So it looks like we finished this one. We have comparisons of tickets to the drawing, but we still need to determine our prize. So we're not quite done. We still need, well, it does determine our prize, but we have to generate that part. So we have to we need to incorporate the prize chart into some sort of data structure. Does anybody have any idea of how we can do that? I'm going to go back to this. So remember, this is our Powerball odds. This is what we have here. It looks like we have like what we get, and then we have like our prize here. So we have some values we got to put in here. What would be a good data structure to kind of structure this Powerball odds out? We can get rid of that. We can get rid of that because we have it all down here now. We still have the number generator method or function. And then we have this one, which we'll get back to this one. Then we have our compare function. Okay. We could actually probably move this up here. There we go. So this is almost like this is kind of like the whole driving code now is right here. So, but we want to get some prizes. So I'm going to build a new code block right here. I want to make our prize prize, and we'd say prizes. What would be a good data structure to kind of show, you know, a certain type of match would win a certain type of prize? Jason says dictionary. Anybody else? I'm good with dictionary. If we notice, whenever I'm typing this, like when I did that, I made the curly bracket and then it put another one on the other side. If you hit enter, it like creates a new line, then puts the other one at the very bottom. It helps you kind of keep your code clean. It allows you to put key value pairs in like a vertical structure, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So in this case, we want to kind of copy what we have in the Powerball. We want to make like a unique key and then put a value in there. And so this one's pretty easy for values, right? Because these are nice and spelled out for us, right? All the way up to 1 million. And then we have grand prize, right? So we'll need to kind of make up a prize. Let's just, I think it starts at 20 million. We can just do that. And so we need to make unique keys. And we can say, we can call it 5 plus PB. And we can say that is 20 million. And do a comma. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put these in here and I can change them. Go back to our chart here. Looks like our next one is 5. So I can do 5. And that's 1 million. So 1 followed by 6 zeros. And then our next one is 4 plus Powerball. So I can say 4. 4 plus Powerball, and that is 50,000. And then our next one is matching just 4. And that wins you a paltry $100. 3 plus Powerball. So 3 plus Powerball is also the 100. And then we have 2 plus Powerball. Oh, no, I want 3 plus Powerball there. 3 plus PB. And then 2 plus PB. 1 plus PB. And this will be 100. Then we go to 7. Then we go to 4. And then we can call this only. And that also gets you 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing 1. I'm missing 3. 3. And that also equals 7. Okay. So looking at that with our prize sheet, if you take a look here, we have 5 plus Powerball, which is the grand prize, you get 20 million. Then 5 is 1 million. 4 plus Powerball is 50,000. Then 100, 100. Then 7, 7, and 4 and 4. So those are all the prizes. And so then we could do, and let me move this actually. Let me move this. Oops. Up here, just so we have it at the top of the script. And so now instead of doing like just putting a print statement, this number matched, maybe we can use a loop to kind of collect how many matches we have, and then also if the Powerball matched, and then use that to go to a certain key and get a value. So we may need to go back to our compare function and then put logic in there to count, right? So if we, for example, this loop's going to run over the ticket, and it's going to check to see if it's in the drawing. And if it is in the drawing, instead of printing this, we still could print, but we could also make like a count or something, right? So let's do reg num count equals 0. And here we can just say, if we had a match, then we can say reg num count plus equals 1. And so if I get a match on one of the numbers, then I'm going to increment it by 1. And it's going to loop 5 times. And so if this loops 5 times and my regular number count is 5, I know at least I'm going to win $1 million because all 5 of my numbers match. And I'm only checking the first 5. We can even have then we can have like a Powerball variable. We can just default it to false. And then if that matched here, we can then say Powerball equals true. And then we can return something with this function. So we can say return we can return regular num count Powerball. Let me spell Powerball quickly. We can do something different. Like if we can say if we can then use that to evaluate what we're going to win, but we can return back a string that matches whatever the key is going to be in that case. But we can start here, right? And so we can say, okay, so we can say results equals compare. And then right now we can just print the results. And we can say here, we can say for drawing number I plus 1, we can just do that for now. And a double quote. That should work. Let me go ahead and run this to get the prizes in there, even though I'm not using them yet. And then I think that's all I need to do. Okay. So look here, we can kind of see, we get back a tuple when I do this return regular number count and Powerball. So I'm going through, and here's what I said. So every time this loop runs, it's going to run 50 times. I said for drawing number, and I said I plus 1 because it starts at 0. So I want to get for drawing number 1. I have no numbers matching, and the Powerball did not match. But because I kept the print statements in, I can see where I kind of matched the number. And so if you look here, 50 drawings, I matched the 2 numbers here. And then it was truncated. I can go through scroll element here. Looks like the Powerball matched here. So I had no numbers plus Powerball. So I won money there. And then I won money here. And I won money here. It looks like that's it. Just looking through the 50 drawings. I didn't have more than 2 match. But this is kind of hard to see, right? And so, you know, if we're looking evaluating like how many times a Powerball would win, we would want to maybe aggregate these to like some sort of way to count them, right? That's going a little bit far into our exercise, but you can see how I can use a loop to create new tickets and drawings, compare them, and then kind of show what we had for a winner. Any questions so far? Is everybody following along? Is anybody completely lost and you're like, you're going way too fast for me? Because I can slow down. We don't even have to finish this today. We can even go into tomorrow with this one. Because this is really the main one I wanted to kind of go over and really kind of show how, you know, right now we're using lots of for loops. We've done some casting of strings to integers with our custom ticket generator. We've looked at you know, some slicing of data structures. We're making a dictionary. We're going to use the dictionary and use that data structure as well. We kind of pulled in one of the Python libraries and used something from that to kind of create our Powerball tickets. And we kind of put those, and we generated already several functions that we're using. So we're gonna make a few more. So hopefully you're following along and kind of get some ideas on how to tackle some challenges. This may not apply to some of your challenges, but this is just helps you kind of understand how we use all the tools we've learned in this course, the conditional statements, the looping, the ordered data structures, unordered data structures, so on and so forth. So this is kind of a full comprehensive look. But with that, let's go ahead and we can take a small break, 5 to 10 minutes. We can resume and keep, going at this and see what we can build and see what kind of, if we can maybe track money spent, because we haven't gotten to that part yet. I think that was one of our objectives up here. So far we've completed, 3 of them, and we're working on the price chart. And then we can use that to track money spent. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. I don't need to go anywhere, so I'll just stop recording for now, and we can. All right, welcome back from the break. So just to recap, we have made some functions to generate tickets and then do some comparing. And then I kind of have like this driver like script down here that's doing all the calling and assigning results of functions to variables. Then we can use those variables. I'm using the variables created from functions into another function and then printing out the results from that comparison. And we're seeing that we're using that to build upon and get, more data, right, from what we created. Everything we created was from scratch, and then we're kind of building a product that simulates the lottery. But a big part of the lottery is money, and it's not free money. You have to pay for a chance to win the money. And so we can use this driver code maybe to start with an amount of money, right? And so we could say, okay, well, let's say we have $100. And so we could say money equals 100. And then here we can say, okay, well, $100 and we know a ticket costs $2 a piece. So we want to see what happens with 50 drawings, but now we want to keep track of our money. And that's where our prizes comes in. So that's where this prize stuff comes in, where we can use an iteration of this loop to subtract our money. So we have money. We can say minus equals 2. So we're going to decrement every time this loop runs. We're going to loop it, and every time it runs, we're going to subtract 2 from our money. And then we're going to run through, and we're going to see if we can get money to add to our money pool. But we haven't put that logic in yet. Right now, we're just doing a comparison, and then we're getting the results. And so now we can go back and maybe perhaps use the results to get money back. So maybe we have even a third return value that can give us like how much money we've won, because we're decrementing money by looping, but we want to get back after all the comparisons, like how much money we've gotten back. And so what we can do is, in fact, we can, yeah, we can do that. So here we have our compare, and we're saying, okay, we have our ticket, our drawing, and then if we're actually, we need to go ahead and count up how many times we have our regular number, how many times we're matching those, and our Powerball. And then we can use that to then determine if we have any prizes. And so we can either do that here, we can return a third value here, or we can have our main script do that. And so our results end up, we get back our regular number count and Powerball. We can then have some sort of logic to see if we have any of these match. So for example, like we could say, hey, if our Powerball returns true, well, we know we're going to win something if our Powerball matches, because even if you just match the Powerball, you win something. And then it just goes up from there, right? So, well, it doesn't go up the first time. If you match one number in the Powerball, you still win $4. But if you match 2 in the Powerball, then you win 7. 3 is 100, 4 is 50,000, then 5 is the jackpot, right? So we could have some logic in here that down here that maybe we can start to look at prizes, and then we can increment our money on those prizes inside the loop, and then get a final result at the end. And so we can say, here in this case, what does results come back with again? Well, it comes back with a count. So it's going to be a number, and it's going to be a Boolean. And so that's what happens here. We get a number and a Boolean. So we can use those results and start to maybe reference the prizes and start incrementing money. So we can say, if results at the index of -1 equals true, well, then we know we have a Powerball. So if results at the index of -1 equals true, because it comes back as a tuple. If we look here, that's exactly how it comes back. The results come back as a tuple, and we're going to check the last index of that tuple. So if it equals true, we know we're going to win some money. And then we just need to check to see what the number is there. So if results at the index of 0 equals, if it equals 3, No, if it equals 2. So if we have if we get 2 and a Powerball, then we win 7. So it's something other than 4. So if results at the index of 0 is 2, then we can say money plus equals, I think it's prizes at the key of, and this will be, good Lord, that's annoying, at the key of 2 plus PB. Do y'all see what I did there? So I'm doing an if statement here. I'm going to do a big if else statement tree here, basically. And I can always move all this logic into another function that's called like prize, determine prizes or something, right? And then it'll just do this every time the loop runs. It'll reference that method or the function, but we can just write it in here for now to kind of see. So right now what we're doing is we're getting our results back, and then I'm going to check the results. I'm going to take a look and see if the results at the last index, if it's true. In this case, it's not true. Let's find where a Powerball matches. Right here. So if this ends up being true, I then want to check the first one. And if that is also equal to 2, then I know I now have 2 plus PB in my prizes. So I'm going to win $7. And then I can do elif results 0 equals 3. And I can just 3 plus PB. And then I can do 4 plus PB, and 5 plus PB. And then I can do an else here. And I can say money plus equals prizes. And I actually don't even, I can just say either one, really. I can say 1 plus PB or PB only. It becomes it's the same result, right? So I can just say PB only. Okay, I think that's right. PB only. Okay. So that's only if, right now, only if the Powerball is true. So I have all my nested if else statements in there to cover when I have a Powerball win. This time it'll be the 2 plus P, that's 7, and then it's 100, and then 50,000, and then 1,000,000, and then jackpot. Or no, jackpot 50,000. Yeah. So jackpot 50,000, $100, $7, and then the rest is $4. So otherwise, I have a Powerball true, I'm winning at least $4. Now I can do else if otherwise, if it's not true, that's my only other way for the Powerball. And I can do all my logic for if results at the index of 0 equals, and we'll go back up, we'll take a look, and we have 3. So we have to start with 3. We have to match numbers. We have to match at least 3, 4, and 5. So equals 3. I can grab this. Let's do Mac commands for that. Keep doing Win Control. And so this will be 3. And then I can just oh, it's not highlighted. There we go. EL 4 4 5. This will be 5. Okay, so that's 3, 4, and 5. So that covers winning prizes without getting a Powerball. So if it's false, though, I need to have an else statement here. Actually, I don't need to have an else statement. I'm not going to increment my money at all. So otherwise, I'm not going to win any money. It's just not going to happen. So, okay. So all that is to recap, what I'm doing is I'm getting my results back from my compare method or my compare function. I'm getting back a tuple. The tuple that I get back, if we look back at the method or the function, I'm getting back a count and the Powerball Boolean, which looks like this. And all I'm doing is I'm checking the Boolean first to see if it's true. If it is true, then I know I've won something and I'm going to be only looking at the prizes with a Powerball. If that is false, which is going to be most likely, then I'm just going to see if I have 3, 4, or 5 matches. If I do, then I'm going to win the prize for that. So I'm referencing the key to increment my money based on what I win. And so I'm going to do that. And then at the end of all this looping, because my money is starting here, I could still print this, but I think I just want to see. I'm going to comment this out because I don't want to see every drawing anymore. But what I do want to see at the end of this loop that starts all the way up at line 5 on line 28 now, I want to print. I'm going to print F string. Here is how much money you won after playing the lottery. And we'll do we'll say actually so we'll see. Here's how much money you won after playing the lottery. Let's do drawings. Drawings equals money divided by 2. Okay. Drawings times. Then I'm going to do money. And I'll put a $sign in front of it because it's money. And then I'm going to do don't spend it all in one place. Okay. Okay. And so, like I said before, right, this becomes kind of like our driver code, right? So we're starting with money here and we're starting with drawings. And let's just assume we have a little more expendable income. And let's just assume that we have $1 million to spend. And now, instead of doing range 50, we can do range drawings. So that's going to establish how many drawings we have based on how much money we have, right? So I'm starting with $1 million. I'm making drawings equal to whatever money I have divided by 2 because it costs $2 a drawing. So that gives me how many drawings I can do. I'm going to put that in here. And so now how many times this loop runs depends on how much money I have. I'm going to just loop through. And it's going to be the starting money, because the money is going to change every time this loop iterates. And then it's going to decrement every time it runs once, but then it may increment based on what I win. And at the very end, after that loop runs, it's gonna run 500,000 times. It's gonna give me a result at the end, and it's gonna say, here's how much money you won at the very end. Does everybody see that? Does anybody need to recap on kind of how I ran that logic? And like I said, I can take all this and extract it into another function, so it makes the code a little more cleaner, which I'll do. But right now, I'm going to leave it in here in the loop itself. So let's see if it works. So we're going to go ahead and just run all these again, just to be sure. I don't need to run that one, and run this one here. So I have an issue here. So, oh, a float. Okay, so here, I know I have an even number, but because when you do a division operation, you always get a float, and I have to have an integer. So I ran into an issue right there. It can't be interpreted as an integer, but I can just do int, because it's not going to be a not like the decimal will be a 0. I'll just do that real quick. Let's see if that runs. Okay. There we go. Okay, I have an issue, but at least it's running. So it ran 500,000 times, and because drawings is also still a there we go. And let me find the number match where it's actually okay, so I still have that. Let me comment these out, because I don't need that. And I don't need that. Okay, let's run it again. Let's run this again first. Then run this again. All right, there it goes. Now it's running. Okay, I'm still getting a -2. Why would I get a -2? And it seems like me getting -2 every time. Why would that be? So I'm decrementing money. Oh, I have a typo. Did y'all see that? So I had that. And so what happened was this loop was running, and that was just a typo. I didn't see it because it didn't show up. But instead of minus equals, like how you increment or decrement, I had equals minus. So basically it was saying money now equals -2. And so I just had a small typo that I didn't see. So I needed to have minus equals, not equals minus. And so, because it needs to have that same appearance like that. So hopefully it'll run now the correct way. There we go. So after all that, it says I have $89,929, but I started with $1 million. So it looks like, oh, that time I end up with a quarter of the money I started with. So I must have won some sort of big prize, like probably the 50,000 a couple times, most likely. So I did end up with something, but still a fraction of whatever. Spoiler alert, you can probably run this, 1 million times or even more, and you're always going to end up losing, because the odds are just not in your favor at all. But And we can throw other stuff in here too, right? So we can say, okay, well, if we win this one, like we can print something that kind of stands out. So print, I think what the 4 plus Powerball is like 50,000, right? Yeah. So that's a big money winner, right? That's a good money. So we can say, and then we can do this one and say, and then we can just call it there. Wait, no, that's not 1 million. That's jackpot. This is jackpot. And then this is 1 million. Then 4 is like 100, right? Yeah. So I just want to really just highlight the big win. So I have 50,000, jackpot, and 1 million. And if I ran this again, there we go. I won 50,000 once. And that was 500,000 drawings, by the way. Run it again. Nothing. No big prizes. Highest prize I ever won was probably 100. Any questions so far on this lottery simulator? Let's go back and revisit maybe choosing our own number, right? So we initially talked about choosing our own number, and we kind of got there. We didn't quite finish all the safeguards, right? But we can incorporate this right here and maybe call it something else, right? So in this case, we have just a script. We can maybe define a function that we can call, and we would want to maybe even give an option here before we call a function to either do a custom ticket or a random ticket. And so in this case, we would probably want to give the option before the for loop runs. And instead of having ticket be calling number generator, which is the way we randomly pick a ticket, we may have to have different logic in place to where we can do either or. And so we almost need to have a way to prompt the user and say, do you want to have a random ticket, or do you want to have a user generated ticket? And then we can use the same ticket over all the drawings. So then only the because right now what's happening is it's creating a new ticket every time you have a drawing, which is typically how most people play. But some people play where they have the same ticket, and they have the same ticket for every drawing because they want that one set of numbers to go against the drawing. It doesn't really matter how it works. In fact, picking your own numbers is, I would say, you you decrease your chances if you win a big prize by picking your own numbers versus getting a random number. And the reason I say that is a lot of people put meaning behind their numbers. And so a lot of people say they put like birthdays as a number, right? So they'll pick a number from 31 down to 1, and they'll have those as their numbers, and they won't pick the other numbers all the way up to 70. And so they stand a higher chance of sharing a prize with someone else who may have also picked birthdays, and then they have to share the jackpot if they win, which the chances of winning are so astronomically slim. They probably will never win, but if they do, they'll end up sharing their money. So I think it's better to probably get a randomly generated ticket, but we want to give the user an option to do that. And so we can put some logic here before the for loop runs to either say we want a randomly generated ticket, or we want a user created ticket. And so here we can say user option equals, and then we can say or we can say let's say user ticket equals false. And then we can say actually we can just call user ticket the prompt. So here, let's call it user option. I think I like that better. So user option equals input. And we will say, do you want a random ticket and then we can do Y or N. And so what this will do is give them an option. They'll put Y or N in there. And so and then we could say and we can make user option yeah, so if user option equals Y, ticket equals user ticket, which I haven't defined yet, and then else ticket equals number gen. And so then I can say user ticket equals the results of our custom ticket method or function. And then we can wrap this in custom ticket. And call the def here. Tab. And then return ticket. Okay. So what I did here was I'm saying, hey, I'm saying user option here, and then I'm going to give the option for the user to create a random ticket or not. If they use a random ticket, then they're just going to get number gen. Actually, I need to flip these around. Otherwise, you're going to get a user ticket. So then here. So if user option equals no, so this will only run if the user wants it to. So I'm saying if user option equals no, so they don't want a random ticket, then we will get the custom ticket. Okay. And I can go ahead and define user ticket here equals none for now. Okay. That way I have at least defined as something, so in case it hits logic down here, I don't get an error. Okay. So now I have the custom ticket. Let's see. Let's see how this works. So let me run this real quick. And then I'll run this. Okay, do you want a random ticket? Yes or no? And I'm going to say yes. Then it runs through and it gives me random tickets. But if I run that again and I say no, no, and then it goes to the pick a number. So it goes to the function to pick a number. So 1, 2, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 25. And there we go. It used the same ticket that time, the entire time, only that one ticket. And so it looks like I won $50,000 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 25. Did everybody see how that was done? Everybody follow along with that? Good. Now, this isn't perfect, right? So we still haven't totally gotten this worked out because there could be some errors, right? We did kind of say, hey, you can't pick like a letter or something. It has to be numeric. But I could put a float in here like a 4.5 and it, it probably will take it actually. And I can actually just call it right here. So I can just do custom ticket. And we'll call it my ticket here. Equals that. Then I can print my ticket. Frame that, pick a number, and I can say 4.5. Oh, so it does say I did a 4.5 and it said it must be a number. So that's good. There we go. So it looks like a float wouldn't work either. This is a pretty good safeguard against floats. It's a good safeguard against any other weird characters. It must be a number. But there's nothing saying I can pick a number higher than 69 or lower than 1. Or I can give it a negative number. So I can run that and say, cool, -3. Oh, so it doesn't work. It has to be a positive number. So what about 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 55? It allows me to do that. That's no good because those numbers don't exist in a lottery. So I would need to have some safeguards there. So I'd have to add some more logic in there. how can we do that? We have about 13 minutes left of the session. Quick vote. We probably won't finish this. We'll get pretty close. I mean, we're almost there. We have the we can already do a full-on lottery right now with random numbers. We can stop here and go into the mini project tomorrow, which is going to be a poker hand evaluator. So we have I know both of these themes are gambling themes. That's not like it's not on purpose. It's just they're really great for like showing the concepts of all our different data types. I am a poker player, and I'd rather play poker than play lottery for sure. But you know, this here we're taking real life situations and then converting it into Python code, and it's a pretty good one too. But the lottery is also we can expand upon lottery. We can kind of stop the lottery here where we're at with we did create the lottery. We did track how much money we could spend at on there. We didn't get more realistic with it, right? You can't play the lottery a million times or even 500,000 times. I think the most in your lifetime, if you played lottery twice a week, you could play it. I think over 20 years, it's like 4,000 times or something like that. It's about as much as you can play over like 20 years of playing it every single week, twice a week. So, but yeah, so it's up to y'all if y'all want to continue with this one or move into another project. We basically finished this one in a very basic sense. We did get the tickets, the drawing comparison, and we use different data types like dictionaries, and we use strings, we use casting, we use some if else statements, so that conditional logic, breaking a problem down into those yes or no questions, right? So we broke here we're saying if the ticket isn't that drawing the first five, is that a yes or no? Then we would do something if it's yes or no, or not do something. We created several functions. In fact, we have the last one, custom ticket. That was our fourth or third function. So we have number gen, which creates both tickets and drawings. We then have our compare function that compares a ticket and a drawing. We have our custom ticket function. And then we have our driver code here, in which we didn't put this into another function. We could have taken that and put that into a separate function. So we don't have all this code cluttering our driver code. We have just a nice small loop that has all these different function calls that do things. That's how code gets structured. And so it starts off as a script, and then you find ways to extract your code in different functions they get called. It makes it nice and organized. And I put all my functions up here. So I put my two functions here where I create tickets and drawings, and I compare them way out of the way of where my driver code is. And all I have to do is call it. I just care about calling the function and getting a result and knowing what that result is. Any questions on this exercise so far? I hope this kind of brought some concepts together for everybody, and how we're accessing different data types, converting things around, casting different data types, using loops to do things like decrement money from a starting point, and then using the results of these other functions to add money back, depending on what we won. That's the beauty. We're creating all this from nothing. We're just kind of putting it all together. And so that is a skill that takes a bit of time to develop. It doesn't take too much time to develop though. And you can start building your own things. So I think that's about as far as we're going to go because we're basically at the end of the lesson. But did y'all want to go into the poker hand challenge or the mini project tomorrow, or expand this one out a little more? Regina says the poker hand. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Looks like we're getting more poker option. Okay, cool. Cool. I did want to show one more thing. So if we wanted to keep it like a record of all of our results here, we could use, this is kind of, going a bit beyond, but you could use included Python methods to create like a text file and put it into your directory. And how you can do that is I imported the OS module up here. I'm going to run this code again. That way I have it. And then I can say, my main directory equals os.get cwd. And then I can say with open, and I can say main directory. And I can say results.txt. My gosh, these pop-ups. And I can just do I think I want to do a append as file. And then I can actually say results equals let me put this there as well. Okay. And then I can say file dot write results. Okay. And so this goes a bit beyond the lesson, but this is going to show you kind of how you can use some of these included methods to write files. So you'll learn this in Code Platoon if you join the cohort. But it's a pretty simple concept. What I'm doing is I'm using the open module to create a file called results.txt. And I'm using the append method to add stuff to the file. And then I'm going to write the results, which is this string is showing how much money I've won after playing lottery. And what's nice is when I'm using this method, whatever is in the file will stay and it will just keep adding. So I could use a write method, but it'll overwrite what already exists. I believe this will work. May not work. Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, it's asking me. I do want a random ticket, so I want to do yes. Okay. Boop. Okay, so results.txt just got created right here. If I open it up, this is what I have. It's now a text file that I can take and move and send somewhere else. And then I can go back to it right here. And if I run it again, I do want a random ticket. Boop. And I can go back to results.txt. And I should have added new lines, but it added, instead of replacing it, now I have a record of like how many times I've played the lottery. And so it's just a quick way of doing that. And so I would need to have another new line. So y'all learned about these in the strings. We had these special like characters for strings, and you can add new lines. So let me go ahead and delete this one now. Delete file. Move that to trash. Go back. And now if I run this, and then I do want a random ticket, I have a 50,000. It gives me results. And then I'm going to run it again. Yes. It finishes running. I give the green check mark. I really know the results. Nothing else printed out, right? I didn't win 50,000 that one. But if I look here, now I have a record of it going 2 times. And showing how, you can just record how many times you've run something by using these 2 lines of code right here. Oh, I do. Yes. I have that in there. And so this right here, what this is doing is this is getting whatever my current working directory is. So wherever I am in my computer, it's giving me that directory file. And I can actually print that main dir. Now when I run it again, and I run it here, this is the file path. It's a string, and it's giving me where I'm at in my computer. And then I'm just adding results.txt to it. And see, now I've run it 4 times and showing what I've won. So anyway, I thought I'd just show that real quickly since we were at the end. We had a few minutes left. I just kind of wanted to show that where you can actually permanently make a file that you can use. And you can then, just like we read a paragraph in yesterday's where we read this paragraph, you could then read your results.txt and get a string, like a big string, and then you can use that information to say, okay, well, you can look for the values with this $sign, and then you can count how many times that's happened and average how much times you've won lottery over. You can use that data. And so you can build on what you've done before with that. You're making a permanent, place, a permanent file that you can use. So anyway, yeah, that's, that kind of goes back to what we did on lesson 7, where we did this. That's exactly, you can read a file with that open module and then save it to a variable, a big string, and then you can evaluate that string with those string methods. So, I thought it'd be kind of cool to show that at the very end, and it'll be recorded for you so you can see it. But that's just those 4 lines of code does all that. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and stop the recording here.